Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson of World Alternative Media here, and of course we're joined by author and economic analyst here at WAM, John Sneisen. Now, a recent article in Zero Hedge talks about how the dollar is tumbling after Donald Trump called the currency too strong. And we'll go into this a bit with John Sneisen right away, but what Donald Trump is saying is that the currency is too strong, and in competing against China, our companies can't compete with them now because our currency is too strong and it's killing us. He says the yuan is dropping like a rock. So let's kind of go into this a little bit, John. I know that the currency is artificially strong. So, I mean, of course, with the amount of manipulation that goes into it, it is strong. But I put that in strong quotations as well. John, can you go into how he's right and then how he's wrong as well?
Yeah, well, he's completely right because the yuan, the Chinese are printing massive amounts of yuan currently. They're going into massive amounts of debt.
Yeah.
It's just a way of cheapening your currency, so you become cheaper than your neighbors, so people want to buy from you instead of buying from your neighbor. We saw that with Japan and how the South Korean won got devalued, and suddenly you got Hyundai and Kia suddenly popping out of nowhere. That was one of the main reasons for that. And of course, any currency back in the day, and I'm going to talk about back in the day because what happened back in the day, you had the gold standard.
Yeah.
And when everybody went, when somebody went off the gold standard and hyperinflated their currency, and they had a great time for a very short period of time, and then they collapsed. Mm-hmm. Today, it's a little bit easier to do this where you could just print the massive amounts because everybody's fighting each other. I highly suggest you read the book from 2011, The Currency Wars by James Rickards.
Absolutely.
It's a fantastic book. It describes exactly what's going on right now. Yeah. What the goal is to make your currency so cheap that everybody wants to buy from you instead of your competitor, which is, China is competing with the United States on the trade level. So he's completely right with this, but the problem is everybody's doing it worldwide, and we're devaluing our currency into oblivion. It's a race to zero, and there's nothing else but a gold standard that could save these type of fiat currencies.
But that's still a form of central planning, and it's so important. This is why it's so important to get into free markets and a free monetary system with competing currencies. But the problem, what's really troubling to me is that, of course, like I recently reported on, Donald Trump is talking about, has endorsed the Audit the Fed bill, which, hey, it's good to audit the Fed per se, but it's better to abolish it because what it is doing is financial fraud. It is creating currency out of thin air, creating devaluation, debt, and inflation, and that hurts the people the most. No matter how many jobs you can bring back, it's still not going to change the fact that there will be a large amount of poverty because of the amount of manipulation on the currency. So what's troubling to me is that Donald Trump may endorse Audit the Fed bill, but then on another day he'll say he wants to artificially manipulate interest rates, and then on another day he's saying that the Fed is out of control, but then on another day once again he's saying, well, the dollar is too strong and we must compete. So what is he kind of getting at? Is he saying that the currency should be further devalued, and that in an attack on, say, China's financial system, they should manipulate the currency into oblivion like they are? Because, I mean, they already are, but just not to the same extent.
Well, with the current system, you can't just have one person go into a gold standard. It would eventually, if people understand it, make all other currencies obsolete.
Yeah.
But then, on the other hand, when you have just one country, really struggling with a highly valued currency, which is the United States, it's funny, it's a worthless piece of crap. But the problem is, it's been the go-to of currencies in the world because it's the world reserve currency. So everybody's flocking to it. And trying to, stay safe in a safe haven there. But of course, this is exactly what happened right before the 2008 crash, Josh.
Oh, absolutely.
You remember that, how the US dollar just skyrocketed, and then every other currencies have been devalued severely towards it. And it's exactly the same thing.
And we've seen a lot of similarities in the marketplace as well when it comes to what happened in 2008, and it is a little scary as we approach it.
The problem here is, and he's going to see another problem, not just a trade problem.
Yeah.
The reason why I think he also wants a cheap currency is because he needs to pay the debt, because the more expensive your currency become, the harder it's going to be to pay your debt. And of course, we've seen the Fed trying to push up interest rates. And if the free market takes over, interest rates are going to skyrocket through the roof. And then suddenly the United States is bankrupt completely. And that's why he wanted a cheap currency. He want, like these Keynesians, they want to print massive amounts of money to cheapen debt, so they can get into more debt and then make the government bigger and bigger. And
that creates a Hegelian dialectic that I talk about so often of problem, reaction, solution, and repeat. So what is the bottom line here? What is the exact method that they should use in order to get rid of this debt, but at the same time not further devalue and create more debt?
Well, that's a hard point. First of all, I don't think they should even pay that debt that they racked up in the first place. They should just say, like, we're very sorry, like the generation, well, not the people themselves, but the governments, the people that were in government that racked up all this debt for people. They should say that they're sorry for racking up all this debt, first of all. And then what they should do, they should just have a complete debt jubilee, and then they should free the markets to a voluntary currency system where you don't have a legal tender, centrally planned fiat currency system that's even backed by gold. You should have a currency system that you let your people that live within the country, and not that I even like country borders, but if you have it, you need to let people voluntarily choose what they want as their currency or money for trade in their country, and then that's the way to go. They should do this worldwide, but the problem is you got these nation states run by massive totalitarian governments which doesn't want to lose the control, so they're going to try to do whatever they can to keep control of it. But the problem is the more and more they get into debt, the more and more they need to print money. And suddenly people are just going to say, like, I don't want to use the US dollar. I don't want to use the Yuan. I don't want to use the yen anymore. It's a worthless piece of crap. I would rather just use it in my wood-burning stove because it heats me for less than the value of it.
And eventually that will happen with all fiat currencies because they always revert to zero. But adding to that point, John, just so because we get a lot of comments every now and then in the comment section on our videos, and just so that people aren't confused by it, by saying that we prefer no borders, we're not saying we want a world government. We're saying quite the opposite. As Tim Moen, the leader of the Libertarian Party of Canada, points out as an anarchist, he says, I want 7 billion countries because we need to put things back on the individual and take it away from these giant deep states that manipulate and coerce us. But talking about currency, as I mentioned in a recent video on what an anarchist economy looks like 50 years into the future, which was my submission to the Anarchapulco scholarship contest, is that we have competing currencies that compete against each other, and that's not to say that everyone's going to have different currencies. That's to say that individual businesses will decide which currency they want to take and what's most convenient for example, gold, silver, blockchain, a non-centralized blockchain. That's what will be most convenient to them, so that's likely what they will use.
Not but at the cheapest currency.
Of course, but at the same time, you can continue to use fiat paper money, but you'd be stupid to do so because it would be valueless and faithless and it wouldn't work. But also, we've talked about before, I mean, people could trade goats if they want. Not that it's likely for people to start trading goats, but it is a possibility because it's an individual's choice what they want to exchange for what they want, and the other person from the other party doing the same. It's just simple, basic freedom, individual freedom and economic freedom, and it's far away from the monetary system, which is manipulated in order to put us into servitude to the state as we are basically trying to get out of this bottomless pit of debt. It comes down to the individual's choice rather than some giant government with their gun to your head. It's very important that we look at this and we learn about this. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of branch off into that for a second because it's important to kind of break down to people who don't yet know about this kind of system or voluntarism or anarcho-capitalism or just a freedom of basic libertarian principles if we are to look even at a nationalistic point of view for pragmatism's sake.
Well, it all comes down to, and I think this is the main reason why we're doing this over and over again, is people forget, number one, and then of course the corrupt people, they don't forget, they learn, and then they use the system against everybody every single time. It's just a complete...
It's perpetual.
Yeah, it's a cycle, and people need to learn this in school. Like, we need to teach our kids, not just in school, like just take and homeschool your kids, take them out of the communist school system. We learned that from Holly Swanson and others that we've had on here before.
And Dr. Ron Paul has the School Revolution, exactly. Which my girlfriend was nice enough to give me for Christmas. I'm very excited to read fantastic. That. But we will get into much more soon. We just want to do something quickly on this because it was a big headline, and I think there's a lot of deception and a lot of misunderstanding surrounding this whole idea that the currency is too strong. While John said, as he said, it is true that it is strong, but it comes from an artificial angle, strong. And you have to look at the context from all sides of this. So thank you very much, John. We'll come back at you with much more. Check the links below, GoFundMe and Patreon. We can't do it without you. Any donation is very much appreciated. And of course, check out our link in the description and in the comments for Anarchapulco, where you can save 10% on your tickets to Anarchapulco by typing in promo code WAM. That's WAM. So we'll be back soon. Stay tuned. This is Josh Sigurdson and John Sneisen signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.